We start this hour in New York City and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office ahead of a possible criminal indictment of former President Donald Trump. Sources tell NBC News that law enforcement is bracing for modest protests in support of the former president today around Trump Tower and the DA's office. Yesterday, a handful of supporters responded to Trump's calls for mass protests over the weekend to, quote, take our nation back. Those came as prosecutors are reportedly zeroing in on a charge of falsifying business records in connection with a hush money payment Trump allegedly made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in 2016 to keep the porn star quiet about an affair she says the two had a decade ago, earlier than that. Trump denies the affair and any wrongdoing. Sources say tomorrow is the earliest we could see an indictment. That's when the grand jury in the case reconvenes. Yesterday, the jury heard from Trump ally Robert Costello, an attorney who previously advised Trump's own one-time lawyer, Michael Cohen. Cohen, prosecutor's star witness in the case, was also brought in yesterday to be on standby as a possible rebuttal witness for Costello's testimony. But that rebuttal was never needed, even after Costello spent more than 2 hours trying to discredit Cohen before the grand jury. After his testimony, Costello, who also has represented the likes of Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon, told reporters he has no agenda except exposing the truth. I don't know, Willie. Do you see that as his agenda? How about Al Franken? Your take on
That's a noble agenda.
Yeah?
Exposing the truth. That's what I try
generally
to do.
Speaking, yeah.
Yeah.
He was quite loquacious during the press conference yesterday, getting into great drama about Michael Cohen's behavior. I think the only problem here is that it's not just Michael Cohen's testimony that the grand jury is looking at. They're looking at corroborating evidence and this and that. So you can discredit him as much as you want, but anything Michael Cohen put on the table, it's not like they're just taking that.
Well, there's documentary evidence. Here's evidence of the payment. Here's the check. Here are the emails. They have all that. So they can, at the 11th hour, try to go after Michael Cohen's credibility, but the grand jury seems close to something here. So, Senator, as you watch all this play out in New York, we've been talking this morning about it potentially being the tip of the iceberg for Donald Trump, with so much still behind it that could be even worse for him in Georgia, January 6th, Mar-a-Lago. Go down the list. How do you see all this playing out, and how does it hurt him if it does?
I don't know what's going to happen. Just because Donald Trump said he was going to be arrested, his track record on
no evidence of that, by the way.
Anything. Well,
made up the day.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
Of course, and he could be, and he wanted to whip up his people. You saw the size of that demonstration on his behalf. It was about 3 people. That it really is a crime. I mean, he was trying to win that election, and he wanted to cover that up. And she went to National Enquirer and tried to sell the story. It got squashed. This was about winning that election, and that's a crime. The biggest crime, of course, is I had Lindsey Graham last night on.
How did that go?
It was fun. He and I are friends, kind of, and I've always said he was the funniest senator, which people like me hate. They hate to hear that, but he was very funny last night. But he agreed that the election wasn't stolen, and Trump knew the election wasn't stolen, and the #1 agreement in our country is that you have peaceful transition of power. And then we made a bet. He said Trump is going to be the nominee. I said Biden is, and we made a $20 bet. And he said, okay, and may the winner of the election is the winner of the election. I said, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way it was supposed to be.
Joe, jump in.
Yeah, Senator, so talk about what it's like. You talk about Lindsey, but we all talk to senators, we talk to members of the House. They all trash Trump behind the scenes. The cameras turn on, and suddenly they're his biggest champion. Can you just let our friends that watch the show in on just how widespread you found that to be during your time of service and beyond?
Well, it was pretty uniform. When I tell people around the country that Lindsey was a funny senator, I tell the story about in 2016 when he's running against Trump, and Lindsey's at about 2%, I'm in the Senate bathroom, and I turn to Lindsey, and I say, Lindsey, if I were a Republican, I'd vote for you for president. And Lindsey, without hesitation, just turned to me and said, that's my problem. And he hated Trump at the time and said terrible things about him. And then when he was elected, I have to say, my colleagues were shocked, all down the line, except for Sessions, I guess. And we on the subway, you talk to Republicans and they couldn't believe it. But man, they fell in line because one, if you didn't, you got clobbered. And
continue to fall in line. I mean, Lindsey Graham.
Then Lindsey became his, best friend and plays golf with him, and that's Lindsey. Lindsey's a pretty cynical guy too. Once I was going on, we were going on the winter vacation. He said, "Are you going to any place to take your family for sun?" And I said, "Yeah, going to Puerto Rico." He said, "Do 2 fundraisers, one for the people who are for statehood, one for the people who are against statehood. They never talk to each other."
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
And he's that's his sense of humor. But it's all about how cynical he is. And, of course, Lindsey's from South Carolina. You want to get reelected, you got to be for Trump. He's also wants to be in the action. And now he's the biggest Trump supporter there is.
And I mean, even on the night of January 6th, that's it. I'm out. A couple days later, he gets harassed at National Airport, and he's back. He's back on board.
Well, yeah, he keeps saying, look, I voted to certify. Well, he did on the 6th, but boy, oh boy, yeah.
There has been what sounds to us on this show a lot of wish casting, that the party is moving past Donald Trump, that maybe Ron DeSantis is the alternative. Do you see any evidence of that? It's not in the polls, that's for sure. The party seems to be staying with Donald Trump despite everything we know about him and despite his track record. Do you talk to any Republicans who actually believe the party's moved past him?
Well, Lindsey doesn't. And you don't know. I mean, DeSantis, Scott Walker, we've seen it before, and I haven't seen him as a star yet. Who knows? So, no, there's no real reason to believe that a large, and of course, if they have primaries and, they're winner-take-all primaries in the Republicans, so he could win primaries with 30% like he did in the last, and to get the nomination. So I wouldn't, and do it while indicted.
Joe.
Yes, Senator, for you, what do you think's at stake in the 2024 election if Donald Trump is the Republican nominee?
Oh, everything. And I was basically saying this to Lindsey last night. The guy is a malignant narcissist. And, he picked a few good people at the beginning of his administration last time. And when they went away, it was just one worse person after another. And the place was a kleptocracy. And he doesn't care about anything. He tried he staged a coup. This is the worst possible person we could have in the White House. Republicans who care about this country, if Bernie Sanders was running against Trump, they should go, oh, well, at least we want someone who believes in the country and believes in our system. And it's a frightening prospect. I don't think he wins, but I'd rather someone else be
Not take the
nominee and lose.
Yeah.
Let's bring it into